My daughter never learned to say my name, but the doll did. We lived in a third-floor walk-up in Pilsen, the kind of place where the rent's always 2 weeks late and the radiator coughs like it's dying, where you can hear your neighbor's arguments through walls thin as promises. My daughter, Marisol, was 4, almost 5. She had a speech delay. The doctors said it was normal, said kids develop at their own pace, said not to worry. But I worried, because she'd look at me with those dark eyes, mis ojos, my mother used to say, and her mouth would open. She'd try to form the word, Mami, but nothing would come out except breath, except frustration, except this small sound like a door trying to open in a room with no air. I learned to read her other ways. The tug on my sleeve, the way she'd press her small hand against my cheek, the drawings she'd make, stick figures holding hands, one tall, one small. We didn't need words. Or so I told myself. The doll came from a yard sale on 18th Street. I almost didn't buy it. It was old. Porcelain face, cloth body, the kind your abuela would have kept on a shelf, untouched, the kind that's more decoration than toy. But Marisol saw it, reached for it with both hands, made that sound, that small, hungry sound she made when she wanted something. The woman selling it looked relieved to be rid of it. It was my mother's, she said, didn't meet my eyes. She'd want a child to have it. $5, $5. I should have asked why it was so cheap. Marisol carried it everywhere after that, slept with it, ate breakfast with it propped in the chair beside her, whispered to it in that wordless language she had, part hum, part breath, all her own. I was grateful at first. She seemed lighter, happier. She'd sit on the floor of our cramped living room, the doll in her lap, and I'd hear her making sounds. Not words, but close, closer than she'd ever gotten before. Like she was practicing. Then, one Tuesday morning, I heard it. I was in the kitchen. Marisol was in her room. The door was open. And I heard a voice, small, high, uncertain. Me. I dropped the coffee cup. It shattered on the linoleum, brown liquid spreading like a stain I'd never get out. But I didn't pair, because Marisol had just said her first word. I ran to her room. She was sitting on the floor, the doll in her lap, looking up at me with those dark eyes, silent. "Baby," I said, kneeling in front of her, "say it again, por favor. Say Mommy." She opened her mouth, closed it, shook her head. But the doll's mouth, the painted red lips, they looked different, like they'd been moved. I told myself I'd imagined it. Sleep deprivation, wishful thinking, the acoustics of old buildings playing tricks. But that night, I woke to voices. 2 voices, coming from Marisol's room. One was hers, that wordless humming, that breath language. The other was learning. Me, Mommy, over and over, like a student repeating lessons, like something memorizing the shape of a word it had no right to know. I stood in the hallway for 10 minutes, listening, too afraid to open the door. When I finally did, Marisol was asleep. The doll sat propped against the pillow beside her, its glass eyes catching the streetlight through the window. And I swear to you, I swear on my mother's grave, on every prayer I've ever muttered, those painted lips were curved different, like they'd been practicing smiling. The words came faster after that, but not from Marisol, from the doll. I'd hear it when I was doing dishes, when I was folding laundry, when I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd pay the electric bill. That small voice getting clearer. Mommy, Mommy, then, come here. Mommy, tengo frío, I'm cold. And Marisol, mi niña. She stopped trying to talk altogether. She'd open her mouth and nothing would come out, not even breath, not even that small sound of frustration. Just silence. Like something had stolen the words right out of her throat. I took the doll away, hid it in the closet, shoved it behind winter coats and broken vacuum cleaners. Marisol cried, the silent, shaking kind of crying that's worse than screaming. Her whole body convulsing with grief for something I couldn't see. That night, I heard footsteps in the hallway, small feet, bare against hardwood, pad, pad, pad. I thought it was Marisol. I called out, "Baby, go back to bed." The footsteps stopped. Then a voice, right outside my door. "No soy tu baby. I'm not your baby." It was my voice, my words, but coming from something small, something that had learned my inflection, my cadence, the way I soften my words when I'm trying not to cry. I didn't open the door. I sat there, paralyzed, until dawn bled gray light through the blinds. When I finally got up, Marisol was sitting at the kitchen table, the doll in the chair beside her. I hadn't taken it out of the closet. I tried everything. I took Marisol to doctors, to specialists, to a curandera in Little Village, who burned sage and whispered prayers in Spanish so old it sounded like a different language entirely. The curandera took one look at the doll and shook her head. "Esto no es un juguete," she said. "This isn't a toy." "What is it?" She didn't answer, just crossed herself. Told me to burn it. Told me to bury the ashes at a crossroads at midnight under a waning moon. Told me never to let my daughter touch it again. I tried. That night, I put the doll in a garbage bag, double-bagged it, took it to the alley dumpster behind our building. The metal lid slammed shut with a sound like a grave closing. I went back inside, locked the door, checked on Marisol. She was asleep. I sat in the living room with all the lights on, drinking cold coffee, waiting for morning. At 3:17 a.m., I heard singing. A lullaby. One my mother used to sing to me. One I'd sung to Marisol when she was a baby. Duérmete mi niña, duérmete mi sol. But the voice singing it wasn't mine, and it wasn't coming from Marisol's room. It was coming from the hallway. I stood up, every instinct screaming at me to run, to grab Marisol and run and never look back. But my body moved toward the sound, like I was being pulled, like something had its hand around my spine and was guiding me forward. The hallway stretched, just like in dreams, just like in those nightmares where you're walking and walking, but never reaching the door. And at the end of it, sitting cross-legged on the floor, was the doll. Its dress was cleaner than when I'd thrown it away. Its hair brushed smooth. Its glass eyes reflecting light that wasn't there. And its mouth, those painted red lips, were moving. Mami, ¿por qué me dejaste? Why did you leave me? That's when I understood. It wasn't learning from Marisol. It was taking. Every word my daughter couldn't say. Every sound that died in her throat. Every frustrated breath and failed attempt. The doll was collecting them, wearing them, becoming them. I called the woman who sold it to me, tracked down her number through the church directory, through neighbors, through people who knew people. When she answered, her voice was hollow, empty, like she'd been expecting my call for months. It was my daughter's, she said, not her mother's. Her daughter's. Louisa. She died when she was 5. Brain tumor. Couldn't talk at the end. Could barely breathe. But she held that doll every day, whispered to it, like it could hear her, like it understood. After she died, I kept it, put it on the shelf in her room. Talked to it sometimes, told it about my day, about how much I missed her. Her voice cracked. Then it started talking back. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. Grief does that, you know? Makes you hear things, see things. But then it said my name, in her voice, in Louisa's voice. I thought it was a gift, a miracle, my daughter coming back to me through this thing. She laughed, a sound like glass breaking. But it wasn't her. It was something else, something that had learned her voice, learned her words, learned how to be her. It wanted more. It would ask me to read to it, to sing to it, to tell it stories. And the more I did, the more it grew. Not physically, but inside. It got heavier. Its voice got stronger, started sounding less like Louisa and more like me. It started saying things I'd never told anyone, thoughts I'd only thought, fears I'd buried so deep I'd forgotten they existed. "What did you do?" I whispered. "I tried to destroy it, burned it. It wouldn't catch fire. Smashed its face. The porcelain healed overnight. Threw it in the river. It was on my porch the next morning, dry, waiting. So I sold it, passed it on, let it be someone else's problem, someone else's grief." She was crying now. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't let it take everything. It was already wearing my daughter's voice. It was starting to wear mine." She hung up. I stood there holding the phone until my hand went numb. I started researching. Old newspapers, library archives, internet forums where people whispered about cursed objects and urban legends. I found 12 stories, 12 families, all with the same doll, or dolls like it. A girl in Bridgeport who stopped speaking after her grandmother died. The doll started talking 3 weeks later. A boy in Humboldt Park with selective mutism. His parents thought the doll was helping him until it started speaking in complete sentences, until it started knowing things it shouldn't. A woman in Rogers Park who bought it for her daughter. Within a month, her daughter had forgotten how to say her own name. But the doll knew. The doll remembered. Always the same pattern. Someone vulnerable, someone voiceless, someone whose words are trapped, whose language is locked behind fear or grief or broken neural pathways. The doll finds them. The doll learns. The doll becomes. And once it has enough, once it's collected enough words, enough voice, enough identity, it doesn't need the person anymore. I found a death certificate. Luisa Moreno, aged 5, died 2003. But there was another certificate attached to it, filed 6 months later. Maria Moreno, aged 37, cause of death, suicide. The woman who sold me the doll. She'd been dead for 2 years. I went to Marisol's room that night. She was sitting on her bed, the doll beside her, both staring at me. "Baby," I said, "we need to talk." Marisol opened her mouth. Nothing. The doll tilted its head. "She can't talk, Mommy, but I can." It stood up. Not like a doll, not like an object being lifted, but like something with muscles, with intention, with will. She gave me her words, all of them, the ones she couldn't use, the ones stuck in her throat. She doesn't need them, but I do. You understand, don't you? You're so tired of translating her, of guessing what she means, of pretending you don't wish she could just tell you. My hands shook. That's not true. No? The doll's voice shifted, became mine. You think it every time she can't say I love you, every parent-teacher conference, every birthday party where other kids ask why she's so quiet. Every night you cry in the bathroom because you're afraid she'll never be normal. It was right, and it was wrong, and it was using my own thoughts against me like weapons. I can be her voice, Mommy. I already am. The doctors say she's improving, but it's not her. It's me, speaking through the space she left open, filling the silence. She doesn't need words anymore. She has me. I looked at Marisol, my daughter, my silent, beautiful girl. She was staring at the doll, not with love, not with attachment, but with fear. And I realized she'd been trying to warn me. All those times she'd pulled away from it, all those nights she'd wake up crying, all those drawings she'd made, not of us holding hands, but of her running, with something small and cloth and wrong chasing behind. I grabbed the doll. It was heavier than before, dense, warm, like it had weight beyond matter. It fought me, not with hands, but with words. Don't, please, Mommy, no. I'll be good. I'll be quiet. I just want to exist. Every voice it had ever stolen, every word it had collected, screaming at once. I ran, down the stairs, into the alley, past the dumpster where it had returned from death, to the empty lot behind our building where weeds grew through broken concrete. I'd brought lighter fluid, matches. The curandera said to burn it. The doll was speaking in Marisol's voice now, the one she'd never gotten to use. Mommy, please, I'm scared. Don't leave me. I love you. I love you. Mommy. I dropped the match. The flames caught. Blue, then orange, then white hot. The doll burned, but it didn't scream. It laughed. A sound like every word it had ever taken, exploding at once, like language itself dying. I stood there until the flames died, until all that remained was ash and the smell of burning hair and melted plastic and something older, something that shouldn't burn, but did anyway. I went back inside, washed the smoke from my hands, checked on Marisol. She was asleep, peaceful, the first real peace I'd seen on her face in months. Marisol didn't speak for 6 more months. The doctors said it was normal, said trauma could reset development, said to be patient. I was patient. I waited. I learned to love the silence, to trust her other languages, her drawings, her touches, her eyes that said everything words couldn't. And then, one morning, she was eating cereal, watching cartoons. She looked at me, smiled, opened her mouth. Mommy! Clear, perfect, her own voice. Not stolen, not learned, not borrowed. Hers. I cried. She hugged me, and for the first time in a year, I felt like I had my daughter back. But sometimes, late at night, when the building is quiet and the city holds its breath, I hear something in the walls. Not loud, not obvious, just there. A sound like small hands trying to dig their way back, like words looking for throats to fill, like something that learned how to be human and refuses to forget. Mommy, 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 echoing from every corner, from every shadow, from the space between sound and sound. I tell myself it's nothing, that I burned it, that it's gone, that we're safe. But I keep the lights on. I check Marisol's room 3 times before bed, and I never, ever buy her dolls. Because some things don't die when you burn them. They just learn to wait, to listen, to gather themselves back together word by word. And when they're ready, when they've collected enough voices from enough throats, they'll speak again. I just hope when that day comes, they don't remember my name. If you ever find a doll at a yard sale, old, porcelain, too cheap, and the person selling it won't meet your eyes, walk away. Because it's already learned their name, and it's looking for yours. Mommy?